Good evening and welcome to BSR TV with me, Chris Cohen, and I'm delighted to say Matt Dalton in the commentary box. Good evening, Matt.
Evening, Chris.
Evening,
everybody.
We're here for the round 4 of the fourth season of the iRacing Skip Barber series from Gilles Villeneuve over in Canada, and this one is going to be a thriller because these Skip Barbers are going to be faced with extremely long straights and then into very tight corners, hairpins, chicanes, the like. It's going to test the drivers to the limit, but the drafting's really going to come into effect, and so are the brakes around here, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very stop-start track, and the car can take a real punishment, around you. So, in the championship, let's go over to the track and see just how things are getting on after 3 rounds. Sveridovic, from Team Unpronounceables, naturally, is in the lead of the championship at the moment with 72 points. Simon Hulbert is in second, Team SS Racing. Rob Green, third. Simon Povey, fourth. Mark Mercer, fifth. Dave Grunhill is in 6th place. Patterson, 7th. Peck is 8th, jointly with Paul Grillo, who returns this week, and Bobby Bramley is down there in 10th place at the moment. But it's an interesting battle for the about 3rd through 10th, Matt, because 3rd through 10th is not very much gap. We've got 2 guys, Peck there and Grillo, are on 25 points. Bramley's on 24. Patterson's not got much of an advantage on 27. So with so many points on offer this evening, there's quite a lot to play for. Yeah, absolutely, and as we've seen in previous weeks, it's a hugely, highly contested series with a lot of guys on very similar pace, so it should be interesting to see what happens.
Definitely, and just coming down to page 2 of the championship there, Stuart Adcock from team opposite Luck is in 11th. Phil Jocelyn, who I believe can't make this evening's event, is in 12th, so more points drop for him, unfortunately. Tim Adcock, who I'm assuming is Stuart's brother there, is just behind on 18 points in 13th place, which he shares with Alberto Grivilli. Steve Hefford is in 15th, and we saw him in action last week, and we stressed the word action after his interesting collision off the track, in fact, with Dan Hunt, which put them slightly down the field. He'll be keen to make more of an impression at Gilles Villeneuve. Dave Burnett as well, 16th place, shared with Aidan Walsingham and Steve Richardson, so it's all to play for there. And one man slipping out of the points, or the top 20 at least, is Ellis Stevens, who we haven't seen for a couple of rounds. Matt, any word there?
Yeah, Ellis seems to be taking a little bit of a sabbatical at the moment. I think perhaps he's had some technical issues or something on the off track, and maybe he's just taking some time to gather his thoughts and think about what he's done.
And of course the other event that we cover here on BSR TV is the British Touring Car Championship in iRacing, and a number of the drivers have kind of made the crossover. Some drivers from the touring cars have swapped over to the Skip Barber, some drivers from Skip Barber have swapped over to the touring cars, and some drivers are brave enough to do both, but they're quite different styles, aren't they?
Yeah, enormously different. I mean, this is a single-seater car with road tyres, which, you know, is about where the similarities end is in terms of the tyres. Obviously, these cars have a much lower centre of gravity, run some limited aerodynamics, and are probably more of a challenge in terms of pure race cars than the touring car.
Absolutely. I mean, is it any indication of what we're likely to see this evening, that these cars, this is basically a Formula 1 Grand Prix circuit being driven by significantly slower cars? These cars aren't going to be topping a 200 mile an hour mark down the straights like the Formula 1 cars will. So how does that differ? What elements will come into play here?
It's difficult to say. I mean, obviously the Skip Barber car is more of a Formula 2000 car, so it has less power. You're still going to have a very large draft effect, especially on these straights. This is one of those tracks where you can gain a lot by running quite close to the guy behind you, but it's also a track, because of the number of braking zones, you can make a significant amount of time up, and I think that's probably why we're seeing a larger disparity in lap times perhaps at this track than some others.
We'll just bring up these qualifying positions for you now, because we're 7 minutes into the 20-minute qualifying session. After the qualifying session we'll have a 30-minute race or thereabouts, and Sveridovic now is in the lead at the moment with a 1:54.4, which is a blazing time, but Blake Townend from Radicals Racing is just 0.02 behind, so that's all to play for. Peck is third. One man we haven't seen set a great time so far is Hulbert, and Hulbert has dominated here. He's won the last 2 races, so he's won 2 out of the 3 races, and it was pole to flag last time at Road America, so a force to be reckoned with, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon's one of the top guys in the UK and I Forum on the roadside, and no surprise to see him up the front end.
Indeed, and Sviridovic is just coming up to the final chicane now, so let's see if we can go on board with Wojtek Sviridovic for a lap of Gilles Villeneuve. And this isn't recorded, so if he does stack it into the wall, he will ruin our lap, so Wojtek, please keep it on the track. We go over the start-finish line now. He's coming down to the first series of turns here into Senna, which is a big sideways moment, just as I was giving him the commentator's curse, and left into the right, which is going to make the start rather interesting. Fairly tight right-hander there into Concord, coming down. Not the fastest section of the track, but you can see already how wide and straight the circuit is. Into the first chicane there. Just keep it out off the wall on the right-hand side if you can. That's going to damage the car otherwise, and he does so, but only just. And then down into the next set of corners into, it's kind of like a chicane almost, this one, and then he's going to start the drag, keeping it off the wall on the left, start the drag race down to the hairpin at turn 10. And this is where the draft comes into effect, if he had any other cars to draft with. Hard on the brakes into the next chicane. There's large sausage curbs on the inside of both of those corners, so you want to keep it off there if possible. These are not they don't have a huge amount of travel and suspension on the Skip Barber, so you can survive them, but it's going to cost you a lot of time. You want a best possible exit out of 10, and you can see how wide it is, the exit there, as you bring the car back round to the main part of the straight and put the hammer down as you make the run all the way back down to the start-finish straight. And you can't see it from here, but this is this entire circuit is on one huge island. Fascinating to see from the air, as we saw from the preview if you still saw the start of the show here. Get on hard on the brakes just before the 2 marker, and then wow, you can see the car bouncing all over the place as he's mounted those huge curbs in the final chicane, the Quebec wall, and he is over the line in a 1 minute 54.6, so no improvement there, but that's a fairly long lap time there, Matt.
It is, and you can see just by the amount of track that he was using and how close he was getting to the walls, there's certainly not leaving anything behind in terms of commitment.
No, and it's worth pointing out, you get as many cars as you want in qualifying, so it doesn't matter if you wreck a few, but that won't be the case in the race, will it? And interesting turn 1 here, because normally what we see is a relatively long drag on most circuits down to the first corner, which tends to be fairly tight, and it will sort of split the men from the boys, if you like. But here we've got a drag down to what's essentially a fast entry left-hander and then a slower right-hander, so that's gonna shake things up even more, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody who's watched Formula 1 over the years will have seen more than their fair share of incidents at turn 1. I mean, a lot of us won't forget seeing the Benettons flip in a couple of years ago, and a Lazy doing the same in the Sauber again, so it's not going to be too much different in this series, I wouldn't think.
And we're just looking at Simon Hulbert from SS Racing here, who was last week's qualifying pole sitter and race winner at the same time, which he was not really challenged at Road America, except in the early portions of the race. He kind of got away and then rolled with it, finishing a full 5 seconds ahead of the competition. But where would you rather be on that? Would you rather be on the left going into the first corner or on the right? Because you do you want the inside turn 1 or the outside?
I think there's a little to be said for either. Certainly the guys on the inside will probably want to take the fast left and drift out a little bit to try and force the other guy to lift. But equally the guys on the right hand side, if they can get a good enough run, should be able to go all the way around the outside. Interesting watching Simon Hulbert here. He's actually chasing after Wodge and using him as a little bit of a target to get a better lap time.
And he's probably a little too far away to get the effect from the draft, as he goes over the line in a 1:54.4, which is a pretty amazing time.
He's actually improved his time by a tenth there.
but it's not good enough to change his position, so he's still behind Blake Townend, and he's still behind Sredovic, who's got the pole position. What are Hulbert's chances here if he doesn't start on pole?
I think this is going to be a very, very close race. I mean, the lap times you can see here, they're within a couple of tenths of each other fairly regularly, if that. So that I think the top 3-4 guys are going to be extremely close. And plus, with the effect of the draft, there is always the question: do you really want to be the guy who leads on to the last lap, or would you be happier just sat in for a second and letting the other guy do the work?
And in a 2-car draft situation, it's going to be a case of sitting behind the chap in front and just biding your time. But if there's a 3 or more car situation, like we saw last week, there's a danger that the leader will get away as the other ones are scrapping behind him. So teamwork comes into play there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that these guys all want to work together, but equally they're not going to give each other too much room either.
And we could just see there on the screen an iRating of 5,564 is no mean feat. That takes some doing, so that just goes to show what kind of pace we can expect from some of the front runners here.
Yeah, Blake is, I think a lot of people within iRacing will know that Blake obviously raced in the professional series a few years ago. Notched up a couple of wins there as well, if memory serves me correctly, so he's there's not too much messing about, and these guys really are pushing the elite of the UK and iRoad series.
And it's worth pointing out as well that this isn't just a professional series. There are all sorts of skill levels entering here, and as we come down, we'll look at some of the lower orders here as well. We've got from 11th downward, we've got Luke Ridgway in 11th place, Sobolewski is in 12th, Everest 13th, Patterson 14th, Terry 15th, Grunhill 16th, Tim Adcock that is, in 17th, Steve Hefford is in 18th, O'Connell 19th, and Marcus Naras is in 20th place. And it just goes down from there because we've got 31 drivers in this qualifying session here, so obviously quite large grids here. And 2.7 seconds off the pace by the time you get down to 20th is not terrible by any stretch, is it?
No, I think that shows the guys behind are catching up a little bit and running quite well here, actually.
And it was funny last time out, we did happen to focus on a couple of drivers just at the wrong moment, as we see Townend stack it into the wall there, unfortunately, on the final chicane. He'll just pick up a new car and carry on. He won't improve on his position, but he's still got a couple of minutes to get out and get another lap. But we heard from a few drivers last week after Road America, and they said, look, I honestly, I ran a great race, and you just happened to switch to me just as I crashed, or just as I had a little spin or something like that. So apologies to those guys we did that to. I'm sure we'll be doing it again this evening. But it's kind of a medium sort of length race, isn't it? So the touring cars, they're very short races. They're under 15 minutes. You've got to make it happen from the grid. But here you've got about twice that length of time, and it's probably worth just biding your time a little bit.
I think you can to an extent. I think the guys at the front are not going to want to do that because they're going to want to go and chase after each other, but certainly for the rest of the guys, I mean, a lot of these guys in the mid-pack hand me beatings fairly regularly that my missus would be proud of, so I would fully expect that they're certainly going to try and beat each other up a little bit as well.
Fantastic. And this man we're looking at right now, Adam Terry. Adam is someone who's competed in the British Touring Car Championship, and this is his first time out in the Skip Barber series, so best of luck to Adam today. He's not used to the car, I think that shows, but he's doing pretty well in 17th place, so a good racer, Terry, and we saw him as runner-up in the... good racer, just as he stacks it into the wall. Perfect time to say that, obviously, but good racer he is, and he was runner-up in last season's British Touring Car Championship, and that's an event that anyone can get involved in. Just might as well mention that right now. If you're interested, go to the iRacing Leagues, type in BTCC, have a little search, any skill level, right from the top guys all the way down to just got the car, don't really know the tracks, but willing to put in some practice time. Something you've competed in as well, Matt.
Yeah, BTCC is a well-run league. It's big, the popularity is increasing all the time, and they provide us some fantastic racing for doing the commentary with as well.
Absolutely, a lot more close quarters than this, although I won't say that too loudly because after last week's 10-car train for first place, everyone kept it very clean. And it's worth saying in the skips, Matt, that last week, turn 1, no incidents, no off-tracks, nothing happened at all, except some exciting close quarters racing, so maybe we'll get that again this week, we'll have to see.
I think you've got probably a snowball in hell's chance of that happening at this track, to be honest with you. I think that turn one here is just going to be way too inviting. I fully expect that'll put the commentator's curse on it and make me look like a muppet in no space whatsoever, but
well, we just see Hefford turning it round in turn one, unfortunately, and
I just decided to jump on board with him right as that happens. I'm not sure some of these boys are entirely comfortable with the camera on them, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, it can be a little bit off-putting as we let's have a look at 19th place Marcus Narris. He's moved up one place, but in the meantime Martin Peck has taken the pole position with a 154.21, so that's a 10th faster than Srevidovic, and we haven't got long left. That's
a faster time than even Simon Hulbert managed in practice. There was probably less pressure on you, so be interesting to see. Maybe he had a little bit of a toe there on the last lap.
Yeah, I mean these guys are structured into teams of two, so would you be looking for the toe from your teammate if you were out there?
I think Ferrari have shown in Formula 1 what it can do, and I think if you were in a car that's a lot less power, like for example these Skip Barbers, then depending how well organised their teams are, if they could get one of their teammates to give them a tow, that would certainly be a massive help. And in fact, I'm just watching a replay of his qualifying lap here, and he's had a significant tow from Rob Green the entire length of the back straight.
Wow, okay, well that's the way to do it then, with just over a minute left. Hulbert though struggling 4th place, that he won't be accustomed to starting that far back.
No, that's but again that shows the competition level amongst these top guys in this league. There's 7 guys there all within a 154 lap time, so it's going to be difficult to break away.
It will indeed, and Rob Green, I know we'll be looking for a little bit of a higher grid spot than that, 9th place, but well, if they can keep it together through the first corner, there's plenty of positions to be made up just from the draft alone, and I know that Townend will be particularly pleased with starting from 3rd, but if you let go just for a moment, if you get beyond that roughly 1.5 second barrier and you lose the draft, then you're on your own then, and everyone else has got the draft and you're not, so you're at a severe disadvantage. So worth keeping it in check just for that.
Yeah, I think they'll want to keep close to each other. They'll want to stop the other guys from getting away, and with that long backstretch here, that's going to make a difference. It probably doesn't make as much of a difference here as it may at somewhere like Road America, but
of course there's a very, very long straight, start-finish straight at Road America, and some other very long straights on that circuit, so we saw a huge draft effect here, and the straights down here are more interspersed with chicanes and hairpins and things, as we saw Narris there go from 19th to 16th, so well done to him, he's made up 3 places there. Alan Patterson, Team No Grip, is currently just ahead of him in the 15th spot, but we're getting to the point now where the qualifying timer has now ticked down, so the drivers are allowed to just finish off their final lap, whatever their lap they're on now, but that will be all. So hopefully they can keep it in check, and we'll see what happens to Alan Patterson when he comes over the start-finish straight. But in the meantime, not many changes up front, so it's Peck from Srevidovic, from Townend, from Hulbert. Gorillo is 5th, Soboleski has moved up to 6th, Mercer 7th, Kirchtort 8th, Cowan 9th, and Rob Green is in 10th place. Just coming up now to the penultimate straight, if you like, for Patterson, who's on a 56.2. It'll be interesting to see if Team No Grip can improve beyond that 15th place that he currently holds. But we're about to go racing at Gilles Villeneuve, and I've got to say, 31 cars on this grid is going to make for some intense action all the way through the field. As he comes over the line now, that's not a particularly quick lap, 2 minutes 5, so must have had a problem there. We'll see who is still running though, and that's Dave Grunhill, and he is in the draft as well, so in that sort of snot green coloured Skip Barber, if he doesn't mind me saying so, and not a team entry, but
that's a delightful looking machine, is that, isn't it?
You can't really miss that one, I've got to say. No, well, we'll easy to spot him on the grid.
Currently sat in 14th place, so I'm not sure too many people will miss him on the first turn either. But
no. And it's just coming over the line now in a 150. Well, it doesn't look like he's going to improve. 155.9 was and a blown engine on the left there as we go over the line. 156.6. There are a few cars still out on the track. Steve Hefford comes over the line, no improvement there either. and that is it. So that is the conclusion of the qualifying session. So Peck takes it, and Peck probably not used to being on pole.
Yeah, I don't think George Lambert will be especially impressed with his teammate Rob Green giving Martin Peck an enormous toe up the last straight there, but I think from our point of view it's going to make things absolutely brilliant, because that puts a guy who's not necessarily used to being at the front in the front, so it's going to be Wodge, Blake and Simon are all going to have to work their backsides off to get past him, yeah?
Well, of course, we can just see the island shape from some of the scenic cameras that we're getting on the screen now in between the qualifying and the grid. But I mean, would you feel obliged to break the draft if there was someone qualifying who was very fast behind you, or would you not necessarily notice, or would you just kind of keep going in a straight line and never mind the guy behind you?
Well, ordinarily you'd keep going and never mind the guy behind you, obviously. However, there are teams entered in this as well as individual drivers. The teams, should probably work as teams, in which case you'd need to hinder the guy behind you a little bit, if anything, possibly.
Without taking him out or making it dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Bit of gamesmanship never hurt anyone, though.
And this is iRacing after all. We're talking about a higher standard of racing, we like to think, than a lot of other racing simulators out there. This is as close to possibly the real thing as you can get in a multiplayer computer game kind of way. Most people will see it as more than simply a game. But Turn 1, very interesting, and they always say, don't they, that without that real life danger of you actually coming to some significant harm, then as we just head to the grid now, without that danger, it's easier to take risks, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, most of the guys in this series, as myself and yourself and others on iRacing do, is take it more seriously than you perhaps would in some other racing simulators or games out there, shall we say. But there is always the fact that you can't get hurt, so the incentive to go for a gap you probably wouldn't in real life is always there.
And that's Peck's number 25 Blue Machine on the right hand side of your picture, who has the inside line but then the outside line. Well, we'll see what happens there going down into Turn 1, and Savidovic is on the left there in the kind of grey-green sort of scheme, and Townend is behind Peck in the red and black Radicals racing machine as the lights go on. Hulbert only managing 4th, remember. Let's see what happens as we get off the line. And we got a red light, the engines start to rev, and we're away at Gilles Villeneuve. Good start from everyone. That one of those machines has started to move to the middle of the screen, so there's a little bit of carnage in the background, possibly. Interesting to see what happens there. Peck's got the line into the first corner, followed by Savidovic. Done very well there. Let's see what happens throughout Turn 1, though.
All looks like everybody's got through cleanly there.
Grunhill just coming through there in the snot green machine on the inside. Everyone is keeping out of trouble there. Looks like Terry's picking up the pace from the back, so I wonder if he's had a problem there. And so it's eat your words time, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? That was always going to happen the second I said it wouldn't happen like that, so...
And it is that Blake Townend right on the back of Savidovic there. He's basically gobbling up the exhaust pipe on that Skip Barber, trying to get through there, and Hulbert. So the first 4 have instantly formed a group there.
Yeah, and these guys are going to look to make a break. I mean, Martin Peck's had a good getaway from the start there. Wodge got a little bit slippery, I think, on the exit of the first chicane, and that's allowed Blake to have a run at him, but looks like they're all going to settle into position here, ready for the long straight.
And Grillo has a problem, so what's happened to Paul Grillo? Let's have a look on the replay. Let's see what happened to him here. He's I don't know is the answer. Let's watch Grillo start and see what we could figure out because he's 5th on the grid. That's the car that was moving towards the middle of the track there, the bright yellow and red vehicle that you can see. Goes for the inside line into 1, and he's round the outside into 2, trying to take on Hulbert, but he looks okay from there, to be honest. And this is a long replay. Apologies for not getting to the point a little bit sooner, but let's find out what happened to Grillo, because he's he's alright there. He's fine. So I still don't know what happened to Grillo, but we'll carry on watching.
Oh, we've got another spinner here. Another one of the Radical guys has just lost it in the chicane.
We'll just come back to that in a moment.
Townend's just made a move on Wodge into the first corner.
Well, let's go back to Townend and let's have a look at that incident there, because we just saw what happened to Grillo there. Apologies for the very long replay, but we found it. Made contact with another car, and that's put him out there. And so Townend is now in second place, behind Martin Peck, but Peck's holding on to it.
Yeah, he's doing well, but Blake has got past Wodge and caught right up to the back of him fairly quickly, and I don't think he's going to want to hang around behind him for too long here. I think he thinks that he can make a move and disappear.
Well, we're just looking back from Martin Peck now in the GR racing machine. The draft is coming into effect because those 4 drivers, they're off like a rocket, Matt. There's a huge gap building up between them and the 5th place man, Mark Mercer. It's 4 seconds now.
Yeah, they're all over each other, and you can see Blake is all over the back of Martin Peck.
And he's trying to make the move down the inside now. Interesting to see what happens here as we come into the next corner. Thinks better of it, tucks back in at the very last minute.
Yeah, I think he maybe just thought better of it there. He's lost a little bit of time there, though. He's lost a car length or 2. And
of course that's slowing up the 2 behind, but Hulbert will be keen to capitalise. Probably not in any hurry, it's worth pointing out, isn't it? Because he's going to be wanting to, if he overtakes, he's only going to be putting himself in a draftable position.
Yeah, and I think Simon probably, as long as he's relatively close to Martin Peck, he's not going to panic. I think if Martin or Blake manage to get a bit of a run and pull a gap, then he may look to make an aggressive move, but Blake was all over the back of there. I mean, he's so close to the wall of champions on the exit of the chicane there.
Absolutely. As they come over the line onto lap 3 here, well, there's not a lot in it. It's only a second between first and fourth, and you can see that blue machine of Mark Mercer just in the background there. He's a full 5 seconds behind the leader now, 5.5 seconds, and well, these 4 are radically faster than anyone else on the circuit. Sobolewski has had a problem. He's down from 7th into 19th. He's dropping places like a stone, so he is now in the pits. Apologies, we don't know what happened to him. But Mercer has got himself quite a gap to Peter Cowan, who's behind. I mean, it's a 2.7 second gap there to the next chap, Peter Cowan, in the 6th spot. Green is behind him, Everest behind him, Lambert, then Ridgway, and then Grunhill. And all the way back to Ridgway, it's a pretty tight train there, so this could be an interesting battle here. We saw Everest in action last week. Did very well up until a very unfortunate spin, which we just happened to catch on camera, but he's been made a move there with Lambert down the inside. Lambert takes the position, and that's going to let Ridgway sneak in behind Everest as well. Everest having to concede, maybe looking for a drag race down the straight. Perhaps he's got it, but he's lost the place to Lambert. He's going to lose the place to Ridgway, is he? Let's have a look. Yeah, he's given it up. He seemed to give it up very easily there.
Yeah, I think he knew he was in the wrong position for the chicane. He seems to be struggling with a bit of an issue there. Possibly he's just picked up a little damage, or possibly even a slowdown from one of the chicanes. This is one of those tracks where if you just grab a little bit too much chicane, you can pick up a slowdown penalty. It can cost you 3-4 seconds.
Well, Everest now running in 10th position. He's got Dave Grunhill right behind him, so it'll be interesting to see if Grunhill might want to...
Blake Townend having another look at Martin Peck here, and I think he's going to go for it. Yeah, he is. So this is a change of the lead there. Exactly the same move he pulled on Wodge earlier in the race as well.
Well, let's go back and have another look at that one then. Coming down the start-finish straight, Townend goes down for the inside into basically the first series of corners there. Getting the draft down the start-finish straight really helped him out there, and yeah, it's like a fast entry into the first section of there, and then coming out of Senna there, sacrificed a little bit on the exit, didn't he? But he's held on to that.
Yeah, and you can see with these guys, I mean, they're effectively the 4 aliens, I think is probably the best way to describe them. You can see the way they're going into the corners is they're setting the car up so it's sliding on entry and has turned the corner before they're even halfway round.
And you can see now that Mark Mercer slipped to 7.5 seconds behind Simon Hulbert. So, well, even further behind now. So that's
these guys are on a different pace to everybody else. It's almost like watching MotoGP, isn't it? Where you've had the 4 guys there who are just on an alien pace to everywhere else.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that didn't happen so much at Road America, but these four guys up the front are giving us some fine entertainment. Do you think Peck's going to be under pressure from Savidovic here?
I think Wodge is probably looking at the gap that Blake has managed to pull of about a car length or two there, and thinking, I need to go with him. Yeah.
So he's in the draft now, just coming under the Dodge bridge there. Needs to get the braking right
close
here.
Up really close back up to the back of Blake on that straight in the draft.
Yeah, it's difficult to get away, isn't it? But it wasn't the best chicane from Savidovic, so he's going to have to. He won't have the run. It's so important to get the run down into turn one. We've seen Townend do it twice in this race so far, Matt.
Yep. Yeah, Blake is. I mean, I was just watching again there on the replay. Blake is so fast at that last chicane. He's literally, that's where he's making up most of his time, I think.
Well, he's got a little bit wide there on the exit, so that it doesn't cost him too much. Just got a little bit wide on the exit at turn one, but he's got away with that one. So no change in position there. Hulbert though is like a stealthy predator at the back of this four-car pack, and he's not letting up. You've got to feel that Hulbert might want to go for this, but not just yet.
Yeah, again, like as we said, as long as he sees Blake is not making any ground, he'll be happy enough to sit where he is. But I think Blake, to me, looks like he's pushing hard. He wants to pull that gap away. He wants to get out of the draft. I think if it was a DRS button, they'd all be needing to use it right now.
Another man who we saw qualify well, but is now struggling, was that other Radicals machine that... yeah, apologies for the graphic there. We showed him as independent, but he's in a Radicals paint job there. So Andy Kirchtort is now down in 18th place. So something must have happened to him out on track. He's just behind. Simon Field there, who's running in 17th in that blue and white Skippy.
Strange to see Simon that low down. He's normally one of the guys who's pushing close at the front.
And it just goes to show, doesn't it? Because the tracks are so different. Some drivers have a natural skill at some tracks and then struggle at others.
Yeah, it's possible he had some idiot distracting him before the race as well while he was trying to practice. That's entirely possible.
Wonder who that might have been. But Field is now looking to make the move on Marcus Naris for 16th position. Coming down into the hairpin now. He keeps it tucked in. He can't get enough purchase on the back of that Barber machine yet. Takes a much wider exit though. Has that paid off coming onto this straight? Doesn't look like it, so he's going to try and use the draft now. Meanwhile, Kirchtort is the faster driver, at least if you believe the qualifying time, so he'll be putting pressure on this little group here.
Yeah, I believe he had a bit of an incident in the final chicane. I spotted one of the Radicals cars had spun earlier on. I believe that was Andy, so I think these four guys in front of him are about to get the monster treatment.
Well, it definitely wasn't Townend, our current race leader, so Team Radical's currently leading this race, effectively. Peck still second, Savidovic third, Hulbert fourth, and Cowan has now moved up to 5th place, so... We've lost someone, haven't we? 5th place was Mercer, he's now down to 9th, so incident from Mercer. And these cars are all now backed up.
Yeah,
so,
there's a big freight train forming you.
I was just looking at the timing screens, but we've lost Patterson. Andrew Patterson is now down to 16th. So yeah, you would have seen that on your screen, and I was distracted by the timing. But let's have a look from the point of view.
Meanwhile, Blake and Martin have pulled a bit of a gap on Wodge and Simon Hulbert here, and Martin Peck is not going away at all. I thought Blake, if he got in front, may be able to stretch it out, but Martin is having absolutely none of that and is sticking pretty close to him.
Well, let's rejoin the lead pack in just a moment as Kirchtort makes the move on Andrew Patterson, putting him down to 17th place. Kirchtort's back up to 16th. He's chasing Simon Field now, who still hasn't managed to get past Marcus Naris. And just up in front of them is Stephen Hefford, who's running in 13th place in his Castrol Skip Barber. Hefford's under pressure from this entire group though, so we'll leave that for now. We'll go back to the lead group coming on to lap 7 here. Just some lap traffic up ahead, so that might be a little bit interesting as Townend is basically rally driving through that first corner. I mean, that's got to be doing some damage to the tyres.
I'm not sure. I think these cars can move around quite a bit. Often it's the fastest way to drive them is to have them a little bit loose, especially on corner entry. And you can see into that chicane there that he's got it pretty loose on turning. So Don't think it'll be harming the tyres too much.
And Hulbert, as you mentioned, is jumped Sredovic, and the gap between these two pairs of cars has extended, so there's no draft now for Hulbert, but Sredovic will not let go that easily in his 099 machine at the back of this pack now. But Townend still under pressure from Peck, so Peck continues his excellent performance from
yeah, he's not
this
going
race.
away, is he? He's refusing to lay down here, and I'm pretty impressed with this. As I said, I thought Blake, when he got in front, would possibly stretch the gap and pull away, and you can clearly see that he's trying, but Martin Peck is not having any of it. He's sticking with him.
Let's go back down a little bit further in the field, as Ridgway is currently battling with Rob Green, as they are side by side now. That's Mercer and Lambert behind them. Mercer, who we saw drop off very quickly at the start and still trying to recover, and Rob Green and Lambert are side by side there and don't want to take each other out. That was close. Oh, and on the grass is well, that's Luke Ridgway on the grass, messed up the entry
he'll
there.
have a slowdown penalty for that, I think, which is why he's losing places there.
And they're all streaming through. Green is through, Lambert's through, Mercer's through, Everest is through there as well, and Grunhill follows through, in fact, behind as well. So Ridgway's got to be disappointed with that one, but and a move going on up front. Lambert on Green here, and teammates are battling it out. No love lost there, and he is GR Racing, but there's no board on the screen, unfortunately. Apologies for that. Coming down into turn 1, Rob Green won't be happy with that.
Nope, he's never... they always say the first rule in racing is to beat your teammate before everybody else. Rob Green looks like he's got a bit of damage on his rear wing there. I wonder if he perhaps had a little contact earlier on. It shouldn't affect him too much. I mean, these cars are not massively aero-dependent.
It doesn't look like huge damage, but Green was... I think Green needs to make a bulk order of rear wings after last time out at Road America, because I seem to remember him having some damage on the back of that car in the last race as well. Let's hope he's not too badly affected, but Lambert is pulling away. It's now a gap of... what's that? A gap of 1.3 seconds already.
Yeah, I wonder if there's not something broken in the suspension there as well. It's he certainly looks very loose, and it looks like the back end's giving him some grief. Then there's a bit of a freight train forming behind him.
And Mercer now is that blue car, number 6, is chasing down Rob Green. Rob Green will be keen to avoid losing too many more positions here, as we can forget about Lambert in this battle as he's pulling away. And Rob Green is coming under pressure from Mark Mercer very slowly. That's the green car of Everest and the lighter green car of Grunhill just behind. So come into the a very quick exit from Mercer there into the chicane, the hairpin. And we're about halfway through this race now, so still all to play for. Still looking back from Rob Green's car at that field of cars streaming through there, and you've got to feel like Mercer is the quicker driver. Can he do it though, down the straight into the chicane? He'll be having a look. He's poking his nose out. Here it comes. Hard on the brakes then. Green is going to let him have it. Sensible thing to do there. Mercer just mounts the curb there, and Green needs a good exit. Oh, Everest makes a terrible mess of that chicane as well, so Grunhill is through now. Grunhill, and is that Ridgway who's gone through as well?
We've lost Andy Kirchstort there, and I'm just looking back at the replay, and I can't see quite what happened, but it looks like his car just veered left and flipped. It was a little while ago, it was a good 30-40 seconds ago, but it looked very strange.
Oh, that's a huge impact from Kirchstort off into the barriers, and comes almost to an instant stop there. I wonder what happened to Kirchstort. Let's see if we can get anything else from... let's see if we can go on board with him as he's coming... No, that's the wrong... apologies, we've gone to the wrong camera there, but let's get that back. So Kirchstort now coming down... We're watching the replay as he comes down the... start and finish straight, and yeah, it is. It's bizarre. On the brakes now into the first corner. And just coming on the back of Marcus Nares there, gets the exit, and just, well, I've never seen anything like that before.
He obviously decided he needed flipping.
And that's the end of Kirchtort's race, but I'd certainly like to know how he managed to do that, because a driver of his quality Although it wasn't the first incident for him in that race, but the driver his quality is unusual to see that. Perhaps there was some kind of mechanical failure, perhaps his wheel decided to give up at that exact moment.
Very strange otherwise. There's just looking at the leaders again here as well, and Blake definitely looks like he's got some damage on the front.
And a big slide coming into that final chicane there, and that was... He's fairly... I mean, I'm sure he knew what he was doing, but it was fairly fortunate to keep it out of the wall. There's so much sideways movement there. Just looking at Sam Everest, unfortunately down, running on his own now in 11th position after that slowdown penalty on the chicane, and we just saw him in the background of that last battle. That group of cars is now starting to split up. Rob Green slightly ahead of Grunhill. Ridgway, after his slowdown penalty, will want that position back. So Ridgway's chasing down 9th place from Dave Grunhill as we come into turn 1. Senna once again, and that 80 machine, the pitlanes.com machine, is closing quickly on the back of Grunhill's car. So I have to feel like Ridgway's the favourite here, but we'll see. And Rob Green has lost the place now to Mark Mercer, so Mercer's back up to 7th position. No real surprise, we knew he was damaged a little bit.
Yeah, Mark on a bit of a fight back there as well. He was in a good position earlier and lost some places. We didn't quite see what happened, but...
Everything's starting to spread out a little bit at the back now. We're looking at 14th place for this man Adam Terry, who we talked about a little bit as his first entry. He certainly won't be disappointed. 14th out of 31 cars in his first ever race.
No, Adam is, that's a good run from him. He'll be pretty happy with that, I would think.
And disappointment then from Simon Field, who's just had no luck from this track whatsoever. We saw him struggling earlier, and he's now down in 26th place, and they're the leaders you can see up in front of him, so he's now been lapped and just not getting on at all well with this car or this track, or a combination of the two. Meanwhile...
Yeah, it's strange to see Simon struggling like that. He's normally pretty quick in this series.
Absolutely, yes.
Battle for the lead is on big time, mind.
Meanwhile, joining back up with the leaders, Peck is still on the tail. He's still right on the tail of Townend, but you got to feel Townend has a massive advantage down into turn 1, so it seems like he's got a get out of jail free card every lap as he comes onto that first corner.
Yeah, he's so quick through the last chicane that's where he's making his time, and then they're having to try and catch him back up for the rest of the lap. He's cutting that much off for turn 1 though. I mean, he is flirting with a slowdown penalty there. These guys are pushing as hard as they can. I don't think there's certainly not anything being left on the table for later on, yeah.
154.3 was the last lap time from Blake Townend, which is...
It's like a qualifying lap, isn't it?
It is a tenth of a second off the qualifying lap, and when you factor in the fact they need more fuel for this race, and the tyres are going to be slightly worn by this stage, although you reckon not too much, that is a fantastic time to be doing.
Yeah, I'm not so sure this is one of the cars where they pick up massive amounts of tyre width. There will be a difference later on, obviously, but I don't think it's as much of an issue as it is in some other cars, certainly not perhaps the Kias.
And we just come on to that grey machine now of Keith Sharp in 18th place, who's chasing down Paul Grillo, who had that first lap incident. And it looks like a shark, that Keith Sharp machine. Looks like it's if you were to rub it the wrong way, it would cut you almost, like a glass effect. But Grillo in the red and yellow machine up in front.
Yeah, there's a certain irony that you've got a car that looks like a shark chasing down a guy that sounds like a Brillo pad, and both could be a little bit rough and abrasive on the edges. So
no, it's Paul Grillo. It's not Paul.
For friction.
Not Paul Brillo, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if you ever need your pots and pans clean,
that Keith Sharp actually loses it and has a little bit of a talentectomy. I think we put the commentator's curse on him there.
It is a shame, isn't it? Let's go back and have another look at that one as he's coming through. Who is doing well, actually, just a half a second behind Grillo, and well, too much curb. And we were talking before, weren't we, about the curb, and just saying that you can take a fair amount of curb, but there's a limit in a car like this.
Yeah, these large sausage curbs at this track especially are pretty treacherous. It shows what a good job the guys at the front are doing, that if you just take a little bit too much curb at this track, which is always the temptation on corner entry especially, just to help your lap times, and you can either pick up a slowdown penalty, or worse than that, you can be bounced off, and as you can see, there's no runoff anywhere here. If you get bounced off, you're going straight into the wall.
The field's starting to spread out a little bit now. Peter Cowan is currently running in the 7th spot, but he is in one of the few remaining battles on the track, so Grunhill and Ridgway are just behind. Ridgway has made it up past Rob Green, so Rob Green is now down to 10th position as all of those cars are streamed by. Grunhill, though, I'm very impressed with 8th place. He'll be delighted with 8th if he manages to keep it there by the end of the race, but Ridgway might have other ideas.
Yep. Luke will want to push as hard as he can. David's having a good run there. Paul Grillo has just gone around Stephen Hefford as well, so he's having a very good run as well.
Just going on board with Ridgway now at the tail end of this little pack here. You can just see that sausage curb on the left hand side. Always makes me hungry when we're talking about sausage curbs, but they're not the type that you can eat. Trust me, I've tried. Grunhill just up ahead of and Cowan just up ahead of him as we come into the hairpin, turn 10 for another time. Oh, he's into the back of Grunhill, and Grunhill's over! Oh, that's a terrible mistake from Ridgway, and that's going to put both of their races out, isn't it?
Luke's continuing here. David is giving him a bit of grief over the radio there, but Luke just having a check on the steering there to make sure he's going on. I'm not sure what he was doing there. Possibly he was a little bit lost and having a look at the map to check where he was and didn't spot the braking point. But
well, if you notice, just before the incident, Grunhill's brakes are locked and he's steering wildly to one side. So I think they both got on the brakes late there. But Grunhill is looking at the track from the wrong orientation there as he is flipped over by Luke Ridgway, destroying the front of Ridgway's car. And that, well, I feel like that was an avoidable incident, really, but mistake from both of those drivers, perhaps. Maybe we can see that again. Maybe we see it again from Dave Grunhill's point of view. If we go on board with him here, we can see what he sees as we're coming into that corner. Very late on the brakes. He's gone wide already, and then gets collected by Ridgway. So he certainly wouldn't have been expecting that. Both drivers look to have made a little bit of a mistake there, and well, Grunhill's in the pits, dropping places like a stone, and Ridgway's still going. In fact,
gets away almost scot-free. A little bit of good. Perhaps he needs to consider his career as a jewel thief if he can manage to get away with daylight robbery that easily. He's still going there. I'm not sure what he's doing. I think Dave Grunhill was going wide to try and get the cut back on Peter Cowan because he was attacking him for position, and perhaps that just caught Luke off guard, but certainly got suckered into braking way too late there.
If Ridgway had the same idea on Grunhill as Grunhill had on the chap in front as well, then it's certainly. But let's have another look. We're on board now with Ridgway as the car seems to be undamaged. Probably some front aero effect of the front wing has been retained on that car, so that they're pretty strong machines. To be able to flip over another car and keep the front end intact is, you'd never get away with that in F1. You'd lose the front section at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a lot of other cars on this service, if you get so much as a scrape or a touch, then you usually damage it out. But these things seem to be built pretty rigidly. It's a little bit like watching the old Formula Ford festivals they used to have at Donington, where the Saturday and Sunday used to be basically a 2-day long crash fest, and the cars would seem to still work about 20 minutes later. So,
and we have a change for third position. Sviridovich has got past Hulbert, so he has taken back the third position. And meanwhile, a little bit further back, Mercer has got past Lambert, so Mercer's now a full 20 seconds behind the lead group, but he's done well to get past Lambert.
Yeah, he's back to where he was now, isn't he, really? So he's interesting, 23 seconds back. I wonder how much time he lost with that incident earlier on, possibly about 10 seconds, but looking at his lap times, he looks to be running pretty consistently, pretty close to what the leaders are doing now.
And a 1:53.9 from Hulbert on that last lap is quicker than any qualifying lap we've seen, and Hulbert is, well, he's got the pace on now, and he really wants to get past that black Sviridovich machine in front of him. He's only got one lap left to do it, because we're coming on to the final parts of the penultimate lap here, and you can see just up ahead as well, that is the battle between Townend and Peck, and Peck is still losing that battle as they go side by side. It's going to be difficult down the outside. He's lost the draft now. He's not going to have enough momentum to do it. But he's through. He's through. That surprised me.
He's got the move done before the chicane. That's a great move.
Needs a good exit here though. Sviridovich has kept it tighter. just about keeps the car out of the wall on the right hand side as we look at Hulbert now on the inside of Savidovic going into turn 1. This is anybody's game as we come into turn 1 on the final lap. Savidovic on the inside. Hulbert is going to have to yield.
These two are probably, this is the difference between themselves and the two guys up front, is that the two guys up front have had a clean run of it, and these two have been having a ding-dong scrap for the last 10 laps.
Savidovic has gone wide on the exit of turn 1, and that has put them both side by side. Hulbert's got the slight advantage into the next corner, but takes a lot of curb through there, so Savidovic is going to be really close to the back of him as he picks up the draft once again on the final lap. Meanwhile, it's unchanged up front, Townend from Peck. These two are shedding time as in this battle, but Savidovic just tucks in behind, gives Hulbert the benefit of the doubt, but he's not given up yet. That purple SS Racing machine is looking for third place as we are on the last lap out of 15.
Martin Peck is all over the back of Blake Townend here. He's not given up on this at all.
So Townend into the hairpin.
Fantastic battle towards the end.
In fact, it's not the hairpin there, but Hulbert is just about retaining it, and it's difficult to know which battle to focus on here as we come into the last half of the final lap of this race. It's all to play for. Savidovic is the championship leader. He won't want to shed too many points because he's in 4th place at the moment.
No, I think Martin Peck has got a glimpse of beating a former World Drivers' Champion Driver of the Year, so he's going to be wanting to get this, and he's in the draft. He's going to have a run here, I think. Blake is going to have to defend for his life.
He's down the outside though. Townend goes defensive. It's forced him round the outside, but Peck's going to do it. Peck's got the draft. He's going to do it into the final corner. He's got Townend. He just needs a good exit. That's all he needs. And he does. He gets the good exit. Townend won't get round him now. He's into the back.
Yeah, the two boys at the back have crashed and taken each other out.
Oh my goodness!
Peck has taken it.
Peck has taken it, but what has happened behind as we come on? Let's have a look at a replay of that. Savidovic here. Well, we missed it because we were looking at the thrilling battle between Peck and Townend, but Savidovic into the back of Hulbert on the fight. Oh, that's disaster there. What's happened here? Savidovic late on the brakes, and Hulbert goes through. Hulbert, well, he's only got one tiny straight to go down, so it doesn't really matter what state his car in, and Savidovic, does he get over the line in 4th though? That's the question. Or was he beaten to it by Mercer? No, Mercer's so far behind. That's not Mercer that we're seeing on your screen there, so in actual fact that dramatic last incident there didn't make too much of a difference because Savidovic was so far back there that it didn't really matter. But he gets the draft, and then yeah, he's too late pulling out, isn't he? He's too late pulling round Hulbert, and
yep.
Well,
just mistimes the move, and they together they go. And it shows again, though, how strong are these cars that you can have an accident like that and keep going.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? But I'm wondering if we can go back to, can we go back to Martin Peck here and have a look on the very final lap at this last ditch move. Peck round the outside of Townend. Townend's doing the right thing here, isn't he? Taking the defensive line, forcing Peck round the outside, so he's got the better line into the chicane, but Peck's through. The draft is just too much. Peck bided his time well, and just what an exit though, what an exit. Townend still gets the better exit, but nowhere to go. And can we see that from Blake Townend's point of view, please? Because I want to see that again. Let's see what we've got on the replays here. And you can just see, look at the exit that Townend gets here, absolutely fantastic. Mounts the curb, slightly into the back. Well, it's going to need a new rear wing on Martin Peck's car, but I'm sure he's not too fussed about that, having taken the victory. And
nope, I think the prize money will pay for that, won't it?
Another fantastic end here in the Skip Barber series on iRacing, and wow, if you were Blake Townend, you've got to think you were robbed there. I would be so disappointed, but you know, like you were saying, that draft came into play right at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Martin Peck, as I say, we expected him a little bit to get dropped. That didn't happen, and he fought his way back and just very sensibly kept himself in the draft, and you know, really timed that to perfection. I think if he probably doing him a bit of a disservice if we say that he robbed him a little bit there. I think that was just well done, well timed.
Oh, nothing that Townend could have done there either. I mean, the only other thing he might have considered was actually giving Peck the lead a little earlier on, so he could have taken it back. But it's a risky game to play, that one.
Yeah, there were some good battles all the way through there, and there's little bit of afters as well here in the background. A few of the guys having some, shall we say, heated discussions on some of those moves.
Well, I'm sure that Hulbert is not going to be particularly impressed with Savidovic, but that gap will have closed up now because Hulbert did finish ahead of Savidovic, and these are the top two in the table at the moment. Townend didn't start in this series until after it begun, so he's a bit further down in the points, but he's going to be moving up the table pretty quickly, especially with results like that. And Peck, pole position and victory, so congratulations to him.
Yep, I think you'd call that a perfect weekend, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I'm wondering if we can have a look now at the positions a little bit further down. So we've got Mercer 5th place, Lambert 6th, Green in 7th, with that little bit of damage that we saw on the back of that GR racing car. Luke Ridgway in 8th, doing well to recover, but controversial incident there with Dave Grunhill. Sam Everest 9th, did well to hold on for that after a slowdown penalty. Cowan in 10th. 11th goes to Marcus Narris, who massively improved. Marcus Narris, you've got to say, because he qualified 16th and made up 5 places there. Mark O'Connell 12th. Paul Grillo with a disappointing 13th after that one incident. Adam Terry, first time out, 14th place, very well done. Bobby Bramley 15th. Steve Hefford in 16th. Keith Sharp 17th. 18th Steve Richardson in the points. Paul Lee in the points as well, 19th, and the final point goes to Andrew Patterson, who was 19 cars finishing on the lead lap. Pretty good going really overall.
Yeah, that was fantastic racing. That was real good fun to watch and really enjoyable to comment on. These guys are, as we said, the top guys are pushing the elite of the UK and I Series, and I think they showed that at the front. Not so much at the end, but for most of the race certainly.
Well, you've got to say it was an uncharacteristic mistake in the end from Savidovic, but talking of uncharacteristic results, Simon Field did not finish quite so well in this race. We're expecting him a little bit higher, and I'm just wondering if you might be able to get a quick word with Simon now. Are you there, Simon?
I'm here indeed, yeah.
So not the result you were really hoping for, but maybe you can let us in on what happened to you in the early part of that race.
I was just a bit unlucky, really. But I think it was Stephen Hefford and Richard or someone had a bit of a coming together. I tried to avoid it and got a clout up the rear as a result.
So it wasn't a mistake, it was more being taken out, unfortunately for you.
Yeah, no, there was nothing the guy behind me could do about it. I stood on the brakes and a bit earlier than the corner, so it's just one of those things, really.
And coming into this race, you're doing pretty well, but you only have, you compete in the British Touring Cars as well, so you have 3 races there to make up the difference if you have an off or whatever. But you've only got 1 here, so there's not a lot you can do really differently here. I guess it's just a case of picking up the pieces for the next race.
But that's the thing, yeah. It's not like you can sit back and kind of let the result come to you here. You've got to go for it, and as a result of that, sometimes you get into a few more scrapes. But with the best of intentions, I'm a mid-packer in this thing anyway, so I'm just happy to, if I've got something to race with, that'll do me.
Absolutely, and what are the differences really between driving this rear-wheel drive open-wheel racer and driving the Kia Optima in the touring car series?
Well, this is there's a lot less power in this thing. It's some road tyres as well. There's a bit of a black art, I think, to driving this car, and at the moment I haven't figured out what that is. So I am trying, mind you.
Well, I hope you continue to improve as well, because it's certainly exciting when people aren't going into the back of you in these races. So thanks for joining us, Simon, and best of luck for next week.
No bother. Cheers, Chris.
That's Simon Field there, who is 22nd place finisher today. Still haven't managed to coax any of the top drivers into joining us here on BSR TV for any post-race analysis or general shouting matches, if the last lap was anything to go by, Matt, but never know, that might change in the future.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could turn up and make a bit of an effort to come and have a chat with us, but perhaps they're all doing the Kimi Räikkönen thing and have all gone for a gentleman's break.
Well, if the racing is anything to go by, then next week is going to be highly entertaining as well. The touring cars are back on this week here on BSR TV, so that's going to be Thursday the 28th of November, from about the same time, but that's going to be over on the Twitch TV channel rather than the YouTube channel. And we're back next week. Matt, thanks very much for joining us, and thanks very much for tuning in, if you've tuned in this evening to watch this. And we hope to see you again next week. Any final thoughts, Matt?
No, I mean, as you said, I think I'll definitely be back next week to watch this. I enjoyed watching that. I think the racing was good, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the coverage, and see you all again.
Well, we better stop there, because I think I can hear Dave Grunhill yelling even from here.
Yeah, he's giving it a bit larger.
Thanks for watching. Hope you can join us next time here on BSR TV for the iRacing Skip Barber series.